Hello, we are Geeks Assembled, and we've gathered here once again, and Lee's with his pen, and Ethan. Yes, Ethan. That's Ethan, yes. And we are here to talk about, if you couldn't guess already, by the way, Ethan's dress, we're here to talk about Lupin. And it's the Castle of Cagliostro. And we're going to jump straight in. Let's go to Ethan, since he's not a fan of this at all.
Very funny. Well...
No, I'm not funny, am I, Lee? Being serious.
Well, I could tell. Right. Lupin the Third, as anybody knows, this is my favourite cartoon of all time, up there with like Batman the Animated Series and stuff like that. But Lupin the Third started off as a comic in 1969. So it's been going on for 50 years. But the cartoon itself has been 1970, I think it was. 1970, I think the cartoon started. So, and it's been going on for like nearly 50 years now. And it's not like any other anime that you'll watch, like any other bog standard anime that you could watch something and go, oh, it's an anime. This one, it does have, you could tell it's an anime. But when I first watched this, I couldn't tell if it was an anime or a Western cartoon. It's very unique, and it has inspired a lot of other cartoons. And Lupin was actually the first cartoon series to be aimed for a mature audience. The comic itself is for adults only. It's not for kids. And each series has been tonally different. Like the first series, The Green Jacket, in the early 70s, started off as quite serious and hard-boiled and dark and gritty. But then a few episodes in, it got a bit more lighthearted and comedic. And then you had the second series, which was the Red Jacket era, where it was more comedy crime capers. It was more of a caper comedy series. And it had essences of Charlie's Angels, the Avengers, not the Marvel Avengers, the 60s Avengers, Scooby-Doo, Looney Tunes, James Bond. And then you had the Pink Jacket series, which was more wacky and worked on cartoon logic and silly. And now the recent series was the Blue Jacket, which is a combination of all. Lupin is the grandson of Arsène Lupin, which is based on a series of books from the Victorian times, sort of like Sherlock Holmes. We came up with Sherlock Holmes. France came up with Arsène Lupin, who's a gentleman thief. Arsène Lupin was a gentleman. He loved people, but at night he was known as the Phantom Thief. And he was a thief, and he'd love to steal for the thrill of it, but he would always help people out. One day there was I can't remember what his real name is, but he's known as Monkey Punch, and that's the name of the comics it's based on, Monkey Punch Comics. And he said he read these books and said, what if he had a grandson? What if there were two Lupins afterwards? Lupin II is actually Zenigata, Inspector Zenigata, the inspector who chases Lupin. He is Lupin's dad, which, when you watch the show, they never really gave it away. But the more you watch it, they had essences like a father and son relationship, but they kept it very secret. It was only in the recent series, while still being secretive, you never get Lupin's past or anything. You find out that Zenigata, the inspector, is actually Lupin's dad. And there was a big fight that happened between them. He went the way of the policeman, and he was upset. He found out his own dad was a thief. But the grandson, Lupin the Third, loved it. He wanted to be just like his grandfather. And he kept the promise to his grandfather, I'll carry on your work. I'll look after people, steal stuff, and be the next Lupin. And so started off Lupin the Third being chased by Inspector Zenigata. So it was a battle between father and son. And because if you watch the TV series, in the film, they never say, he always calls him Pops. He also calls him Pops. And the joke was that he probably just calls him Pops for the laugh of it, but it actually is his dad. They kept a promise. In the Lasses, they kept a promise. They reveal anyway, they say they had to keep a promise from the world about who they were. And they would always keep it to themselves. But the father, Inspector Zanagata, wanted to bring Lupin in. He had no choice because of the line of work he did. I have to bring in my own son in. And then eventually Lupin met a retired gangster, which was Jigen, the one with the hat, beard, and an ex-assassin who was Huiman Ishikawa, the 13th, and his on and off girlfriend, Fujiko Mine, who in the series is more femme fatale and sexual. But anyway, you could start anywhere with Lupin. You could start anywhere you want with Lupin. Like Doctor Who, you could start anywhere you want. You could start with Pink. You could start with a Blue Jacket or anywhere. It just always gives you a different story. And it's so unique because everyone is different and exciting and fun. It could be stupid, but it just keeps it fun sometimes. And there's that many movies, and I'm probably waffling on. Castle of Cagliostro was the first movie to be done in English. But it's the second movie. The first movie is known as Secret of Mamo. But the second one, Castle of Cagliostro. And this was done by Hayao Miyazaki, where he did a few of the episodes of the first series. And he was the one who said, let's bring comedy into it. Let's make it lighthearted. And Hayao Miyazaki is a brilliant director. He's done so many films like Porco Rosso, Kiki's Delivery Service, The Cat Returns, Princess Mononoke. And his animation is beautiful, and it works for this Lupin because this Lupin was more light-hearted, family-friendly, and it's a fantastic movie because in this you get to see more of Lupin's heroic side. Because in other ones, he is a womanizing, wacky, bonkers, ruthless guy, but he's still comedic as anything. But in this, you see the side that he promised his grandfather, be a hero. So this is where you get to see more of Lupin being a hero and looking out for people in need, because that's what his grandfather promised. Well, he promised his grandfather anyway. And it's a very well done film. It's inspired like Pixar, and I think it's just one of my favorite movies. I love anything that's Lupin. But yeah, that's what I can say about this film. It's a great, fun movie. And it's funny that this one's the most renowned and deemed the most famous. Totally, it's not Lupin, but it's a good place to start, I think, if you want to get to know more Lupin. Because each one's different. You'll see each one like show different sides to them and their pasts, their stories, what kind of villains they deal with. It's a great show, and I've always recommended it to people. Even my girlfriend watches it. Well, I got her into it, and she found it was interesting. Because it's not like any other cartoon.
Ethan, can I just ask, did you have much choice?
What, showing my girlfriend?
Do you sit next to a dress as Lupin?
No.
All right.
But it's a wonderful cartoon because it does things that you don't see in other animes or cartoons. The detail of the places they go to are so spot on, and the personalities are so fun, and the adventures they get up to are so amazing and good. And like I said, each one is different. It keeps you guessing. But yeah, it's so much you could start from. It's 50 years worth of it. Like Doctor Who, you could start anywhere. But the more you watch it, the more you sort of appreciate it and get to know it. And it is a fun cartoon where I think for me, once you start, you can't stop because you want to know more about them. But it's a great cartoon. And that's why I could say this film is a great, fantastic movie. And I will say favorite moments later on.
Yep, let's just let me check. Is it still Saturday? Yep, yeah, it's just about. Anybody think you're a fan of it, Ethan? Really, honestly, I mean, Lee, let's go to Hull. Let's see what Hull's opinion of Lupin is. You're speaking for the whole community of Hull now, Lee, on your verdict of Lupin the Third.
Well, this is the first time I've ever seen anything from this franchise. Very colourful. It is colourful. See, I haven't done any research. It's good to hear what Ethan said about the history of the character and stuff like that. it reminds me, the animation. I mean, I know a lot of. In my younger days, I used to be fans of the anime of, like Crying Freeman and the Fist of the North thing.
Yeah, so am I. I love it.
Very, very, very violent and anime. This is not violent as such, but the animation does remind me of going back to when I was a younger days. The series like Ulysses and even Dogtanian. I don't know if it's the same company what produced those shows. I don't know, but the animation is very similar. The faces, the features are very similar to the Lupin one in this one we've seen. Yeah, it's an enjoyable tale of counterfeiting, shall we say, and the antics of Lupin and his gang of, what do you call them? Mercenaries, thieves, whatever you want to call them. Thieves. Yeah. I did like the Count. The Count was a good character. So I'm assuming he's met the Count before, in other, because he mentioned it, oh, it's you again, sort of thing. So, and I did like the character of the Count. The only gripe on this one, as you say, this was the second movie.
Yeah, this is the second film in the movie franchise. It still follows on from the series and stuff like that.
So yeah, this is what this is. You're going to mostly hate me for this, but
no, it's all right.
For me, it was too long. The story for me could have been told in 50 to 60 minutes to an hour. The story, but it was dragged out until an hour and 40. Was it an hour and 40?
Yeah, 1 hour and 40 minutes. What was that horn?
I did a horn sound.
Where have you got a horn, Lee? Where have you put your horn out in?
Anyway,
I'll go and pull it back out.
So the episode,
I got it.
So the episodes are not as long as this then, because I don't know any history of this series.
The episodes are like, the episodes were done like a Saturday morning cartoon. The creator was a fan of like American shows and Saturday morning cartoons he had watched. So he did it in a style for adults and a mature audience where each one is like 25 to 30 minutes long, like a normal cartoon episode. But the movies themselves.
Yeah, so for me, this is a minute, yeah.
Well, yeah, the movies themselves. This one, I think, is the longest. I think it's one of the longest. But
why did I have to pick the longest? Why?
Alid strikes again.
Oh.
But yeah, so some of the movies can be shorter than this one, but I think this one is somewhat the longest movie, but some of the movies are shorter.
Preferably 10 minutes. Are you still going, Lee?
Yes, I'm still going. Also, as well, the voice dubbing. The voice dubbing on this one. I don't know what Ethan thinks. I mean, I thought the Lupin voice character was really well done in the English dubbing, but there is a couple of voices what really did great on me. The princess, for one, really did annoy me. I mean, I don't even know who these English actors are. So, but yeah, what did you think of the voice acting in this?
Are you pressing your hooter again?
Well,
are you giving your hooter a squeeze?
Well, this is the only movie. All the other voices in this movie. This movie came out when, if you watch this movie, you'll notice they call Lupin Wolf.
Yes.
At the time, it was because of a copyright issue. They couldn't use the name Lupin. They only used the name once in a movie, Lupin. So it was not until after this movie was released, they got the rights to actually use the Maurice Leblanc's character name. Maurice Leblanc was the writer of the original Arsène Lupin novel. And he had the rights. So they didn't have the rights to say Lupin. They had to call him Wolf in this movie. But after that, they got the rights and said, right, you could use the name Lupin. You could give him the background, everything. And in the TV series that I love, The Red Jacket, and all the other movies afterwards, it's a different voice cast from what you hear in Castle of Cagliostro. When you watch Secret of Marmo and the TV series, all throughout, it's the same voice actors. So I prefer the voice acting in the TV series and the other movies, because Jigen sounds a bit more deeper and gruffer. Instead of like, in this, he's like, hey, boss. In the others, he's like, I'm going to shoot you down. Like, don't start with me. They have slightly different voice actors. But I think you'd appreciate more the TV series because they've done it for years and they know how to get the characters. But yeah, I did the voices. I don't mind in this. But I do prefer the other voice acting cast who have done loads of other things, and they can use, they've been in the TV series, the other movies. So yeah, it's just one movie where it was a different voice cast compared to the regular cast in the TV series and all the other films.
Oh, cool. I just thought I'd ask that. Over to you, Alid. I'm done now.
Okay.
Oh, good. You finished on your commode. Someone will come and clean it up in a minute. That's what he's hooting for, kids. That's what he's hooting for the nurse to come. Oh, God, I'm going to be the villain. I'm going to be the Count of the Peace. That or the damsel in distress by the end of this cast. I've got to say, I don't like the Japanese, anime stuff anyway. That's not my type of animation. I mean, yes, I used to like Pokemon back in the day, and that's Japanese animation. But I much prefer, I know Lee's going to laugh at me. But I much prefer things like Frozen. I know that sounds awful. And I really like things like Frozen. And this isn't Frozen. I know that's
it's got a princess in it, though. It's got a princess in it.
It has got a princess in it, but she's not a Disney princess, if you know what I mean. I mean, that sounds awful. I know it sounds awful, but she is. It reminded me of a Mario game with a princess being captured and Lupin having to go and rescue the princess. Obviously, he's doing other things as well. I mean, you've got the counterfeit money, the Count is printing money and stuff like that. And then you've got the treasure, and the treasure ends up to be in this lost city thing, which is underwater. I did quite like the ending and how the Count was just killed, with the clock. I thought that was good. But yes, yeah, I wasn't keen on it. I mean, it was way too long. It was just so drawn out. I don't see why it needed to be so long. It felt very slow. It did feel slow. There wasn't there was action, but the problem is I think I've been spoiled with Disney action and Pixar action. Do you get what I mean? Where this isn't the same type of action, is it? I mean, the car chase at the beginning, they're going down the road, but there's a lot of repeated scenery, if you get what I mean.
That was mostly budget restraints.
Yeah, I know, and I can't really, but, I am going to nitpick, because I want to break even on this. No, I'm only joking. I will make him crack like I've made Susan crack, like I've made Beef Dad crack. Yeah, it just didn't click for me. It just didn't work. I mean, it was a 10-minute Mario story, but dragged out for an hour and 40 minutes. I mean, really, it could have done with being 25 minutes. Really, I think the story it could have been all done with. Well, I'm being a bit cruel there. I think it could have been done in 50 minutes, like Lee says. I don't see why it needed to be 1 hour and 40 minutes. That was very dragged out. So yeah, that's all about. I have to say it really. Ethan, favourite moments? If you've got any, maybe you don't have any. Maybe you hated it. Let's go to Lee instead.
I suppose I could agree with you. It is sort of the slowest Lupin. When you look at some of the other ones, they are more action-packed. Like particularly the first movie. I can't remember how long it is, but I think it's not as long as this one anyway. The first movie is like there's more action in it. This is like it combines the darker elements, more adult elements, with the fun elements of the Red Jacket series. The first movie is one of those films that feels it's like what was that movie? Plague Dogs and Watership Down, where you didn't quite know what age is it for. You know, you'll get like this bit and you're like, oh, it's like a cartoon. Then suddenly you get Fujiko naked or something, walking up to Lupin. And you're like, what's this for? It is one of those movies where it goes into darker territory and you're like, what age is this for? But you probably enjoy the first movie more because there's more action, and you get to see the real Lupin. Anyway, favourite moments. But I do love the opening bit, even though it's short. That opens up in pretty much Lupin tradition, like them breaking, like stealing the money, and it kicks off the music, and they do the jumps over the fences, like boing. The car chase, I love the car chase, and is a great. I just think that's a good car chase scene, and I love the bit where Lupin's climbing on the castle, and he's got the rocket, and he's trying to light it. And then suddenly it falls down and he chases after it, but he starts running down the tower and he goes flying over to the other side of the castle. I think that bit was just really, and how it does the sound effects like, bong. The whole finale I love. Like when they break into the wedding and Jigen and Guiman show off their skills. Jigen, a skilled shooter. Guiman, a samurai. I've always loved the moments with Lupin and Zenigata because you could see bits that they still care for each other, father and son. And there's that bit where he says, like, I always knew you were a good guy. Put it there. And he hands it out and they have to team up. And Zenigata's ready to take his hand. He goes, no, we're still enemies. Always like that bit. So you see essences, like every time Lupin and Zenigata there, that's always a fun thing. You see essences that they still care for each other, father and son, and they set the place on fire and run off, fighting all the bad guys while going up to the gyroplane. That I liked. Trying to think, a lot of favorite moments, but I think those are probably my favorite moments. I think that's it. The whole finale, like even in the clock tower, actually. Sorry.
No. Carry on. Yeah.
The clock tower bit where Lupin.
Alex interrupts me, so don't worry. You can do it too.
The whole clock tower bit. The whole clock tower bit where they're fighting the Count was brilliant.
Yes, I did like that bit.
That bit was all really well done, I think, and it was great animation. And I think there's a bit earlier that always makes me laugh where Jigen and Lupin are underwater. And suddenly the water gets really fast and Jigen grabs hold of the rock and Lupin's getting sucked in, and he's like swimming up a waterfall, and he falls down. He's going through all the gears. You see,
the gears. Yeah.
I thought that was really funny. I always laugh at that. Like he's going, "Oh, ow, oh." I think those are my favourite bits. I won't interrupt you now, Alan.
No, like I say, Alex does. So I'm used to it. You know, I've just got to mention one thing: Boston. There we go. I've done it. But I got to say, one of my favourite moments was when Lupin was on the roof, and then you've got the Count and the Count's sidekick, and they're shooting Lupin, and I'm thinking, good, they're going to kill him. The film's over. Yay! And then she's there protecting him, and I'm thinking, just shoot her too. I mean, all he needed was wait. He didn't even need a bride. All he needed was to join the ring together. What was it? He didn't even need the bride. He didn't need her, because all he needed was to join the rings. What an idiot! He could have killed her, got the ring, and then got his treasure.
But he didn't quite know that, did he? Because he thought that's how
he's not wasn't very clever then, was he? Wasn't very.
It's just the rings to put him in the clock tower and then show the treasure.
All he needed to do was join her ring together.
Well, he was not a clever Count then.
Let's go to Lee for favourite moments.
Well, you've said them all.
You weren't paying attention to the film then, were you?
I do like the gyrocopter scene. That's good, where he hands it over to his. Now that I know it's his dad, I didn't know that.
No, I didn't know that. No.
Now looking back at it, you can see his things. I did like.
But he does look like him because he dressed up as him at one point. He does look like.
One of the funny things you'll learn in Lupin is
it's interrupting you now, Lee. It's disgraceful.
I'm just giving information about Lupin, but yeah, what he said, he does look like him. That's one of the things you notice. They look alike.
Yeah.
And one of the fun facts is every costume he puts on, he'll wear a mask, but he never wears a mask where he disguises himself as Zenigata. Because they do look alike.
Yeah.
So he can form his face into looking like his old pops and get away with it. So you could see like how he never wears a mask, and they do look alike. And that's how you sort of pick up on certain things. You go, wait, are they father and son? And then you sort of work it out as the series goes on. They are father and son.
Yeah, no, I just got confused there. But I thought, wait, who's who? What? Because I thought it was definitely him when he said, oh, you know, he'd run away and then go and chase him. And then it ended up to be who was his father and that. Yeah. Anyway, speaking of old, let's go back to Lee.
Yeah, sorry.
Thank you.
That's a good introduction. Good segue, that old.
It's been mentioned. I did like the fight scene on the cogs in the clock tower. I thought that was brilliantly done. The villain getting his comeuppance on the clock face. I mean, that could have been in a Bond movie. That really, the way they got rid of the villain like that, they could have done that in a Bond movie. There is one scene where Lupin's telling the story of how he met the princess. The princess finds Lupin in the garden all those years ago. I thought that scene was a bit weird, where he was telling the story about that. She looked after him till he was better. So he was laid under that tree for how long?
Well, I don't know. That's a good point. Yeah.
She brought him a glass of water until I was.
You're better now. Oh, cheers! I'll see you in 10 years' time.
Yeah, I didn't quite get that scene. I thought, the scene as well when he's all bandaged up in the bed, sort of recovering. And how do you know the dog? And then he starts telling him the story there. Yeah, it's. I wasn't too keen on the character of the princess. She annoyed me. Really, she needed a good slap.
The truth is, you just want to be a princess.
No, you do.
You just want to cosplay as her.
No,
It's-
don't.
She was sort of like a bog standard.
Oh, she's a typical Mario princess, yeah.
Like a bog standard princess, sort of.
Yeah, that's what I didn't like about her. I mean, I like Elsa, you know, who's not your bog standard princess.
Oh,
And
God.
she's not. Elsa's not your bog standard princess.
But it's a totally different type of animation, Ali.
Still animation. I think the thing is with Lupin, it's for children.
She'll be traumatized with some of
It's
it.
just purely for kids.
Do you know, I thought Beef Dad was here then.
Right. Anyway, sorry.
Better ring the carer. He's escaped again.
You got to the princess part.
Yeah, it's, that was what I think that was the character I least liked in the whole thing, to be honest. And the story really was about her, wasn't it? The treasure. Ditch the princess. Then that would have cut 20 minutes from the movie. yeah. That's all I can say, really, because you've spoken about all the other things. What your favourite moms? So over to you, Alan.
He's spoken about the whole flipping series.
And what about you as well?
Yeah, no, I wasn't keen on the princess. I just don't see the point in her. I mean, I did find the relationship with Lupin and her a bit creepy. I mean, because they don't really have a relationship. I mean, they weren't very talkative. Oh, have you had a nice day, you know? Or if you watched anything on telly recently, you know, they weren't acting normal things that you talk about or, you know, ask or do. I just found it very weird. She had no personality. She had no personality at all. And then you got the one that's undercover, haven't you?
Yeah, that's Fujiko, Lupin's on and off girlfriend. The relationships between him and her in the later movies and the actual series are much more fun. They're hilarious and have more personality.
Yeah. So, yeah, I think we'll move on to final say and score. Let's go to Ethan first.
Well, it is a good movie, and I do, like I said, I love Lupin. I'm going to give this one a 9 out of 10, actually, because the first movie is... I've always loved the first movie, and there's other movies which are like more like Lupin, but I will give this a 9 out of 10. It's still a great movie, and I do love it. It has a charm, and as Lee said, it has a sense of nostalgism, which does, like you said, Ulysses 31 or D'Artagnan. I like that style. I love the style. I've always loved the music. The music in Lupin has always been like quite jazzy or funky music, and it has that sense of the 70s and the 80s and the late 60s. I love that. There's something nostalgic about it. But yeah, a 9 out of 10. You know, but for a good fun movie. Just a good fun cartoon film.
Even if it is for children. I mean, Frozen's far better. But, you know, it's fine. Ethan likes it. Let's go to Lee.
Thanks for reminding me about the music. Yeah, I did like the music. The beginning of the movie and the credits. The Japanese. I mean, I don't know what they were singing about, but the Japanese theme at the beginning of it was quite good. That. And this is, say, my first time in the world of Lupin.
He's a Lupin virgin, you could say.
Yeah,
he ain't been a virgin for a very long time, kids.
I say the only main gripes I did have was the length of it and the princess. Apart from that, it was watchable. If I got into it and watched other episodes and other movies or whatever, I'd most probably get more into it. But for me, since it's my first go at it, give it a 7.
Oh, 7, that's quite good. Ethan,
Yes.
what score would really outrage you? What score would really, you would think, right, that's insulting.
I know you too well at this point, so it doesn't faze me one little bit.
No, go on. What score would you say if a real reviewer, like we are here, we're all real reviewers, we're all qualified, if you saw a real review of Lupin and it had such a low score, what score would that be, and why? Why would it outrage you? What score would it be that would outrage you?
To be honest, I have no bloody idea. And probably don't care, but I don't know.
Making this very difficult.
Oh, it's hard to break me. It's hard to break me.
Say 10, see what he says after that.
No, because, see, it's easy with Susan and Beef Dad. I can just give things a 4, and they absolutely, you see it in their face, they are absolutely crushed. They are absolutely, you can see just a part of their soul dying inside them. And
whereas me, it's just hard.
It just makes me feel youthful every time I see someone crushed on these casts.
You really need to play a supervillain or something. You need to play a bloody cartoon Saturday morning show villain.
I should be in Frozen.
Villainess.
The villainess. I should be the new villainess in Frozen.
Yeah.
I would say, no, I'm going to give it a fair score because Ethan does like it. And Ethan...
You could be honest.
No. Ethan is one of my favourite members of the group. Which, let's be honest, it's not hard to do. Yeah, he's the only one I like in this group. I just put up with the others. Yeah, I'm gonna be fair on it because Ethan likes it. The animation, yeah, it's not animation for me. The story is overlong. The plot was weak, I think, and it was quite boring and dull. And, the more I think about it, it was pretty crap, really, overall.
I'm going to be nice to Ethan because he's my favourite. Tell him it's crap.
And to be honest, I would rather they wipe Lupin from history, to be honest. And, anybody who likes Lupin really should be, well, I think, locked away.
Too late. Doesn't work.
Yeah. So at the end of that, I think I'm going to give it a solid gold 10 out of 10.
See,
there we go.
Is your medication? Is his medication kicked in?
I was going to say, I don't know if there's some medication.
There we go. I'm giving it a 10. Ethan's giving it a 1. Lee's giving it a 2. I've given it the highest score of the evening. Blame these two. They're disgraceful. We're never having them back again, especially the one over there from Hull.
I knew there was a catch to this.
Tell us below if you enjoyed Lupin.
Do you enjoy Lupin? Oh,
you
yes.
probably enjoy Lupin much more than you'll enjoy Lupin, let's be honest. Look after yourself, take care, and we will see you in the next video, which luckily, viewers, it won't be Lupin.